Iyabo Ojo came out and was saying that there are a lot of, the government are giving her a high tax to pay.
Why do I have to pay this much personal income tax? They said, because I'm a celebrity.
Why did they give us so much money to pay?
Iyabo Ojo did not comply when she's supposed to comply as an individual at the time. All tax authority, both Federal Inland Revenue Service and State Internal Revenue Service, they have the discretion. That's the power given to them to slam individual company based on judgment assessment.
Every last week of the month, I'm sure you'll be expecting your salaries, and you're just wondering, why is a particular amount of money deducted from your salary? As you know, most Nigerians do not understand what taxes are. Some people believe that taxes is just another way of the government scamming them. But today we're going to establish what taxes are, why your salaries are being taxed, and is there a way to legally reduce how much taxes we pay? As you know, on the Novice Podcast, I source for the right guest. Today's guest, he's a tax and regulatory expert. He helps businesses and individuals understand government policies, adhere to strict rules, and maybe, just maybe, legally help you reduce how much tax you pay. Hello, Mr. Akinlere.
Thank you, Tolu, for having me on the show, and thank you. Good morning, Nigerians.
Yeah. So today, I want to understand what taxes are and why the government, deduct a certain amount of money from our salaries. You know that we work hard for this money, so why exactly are they taking part of the money?
Okay, like you said, taxes are compulsory payments from individuals to government. So on why government deduct taxes? I mean, if there is no taxes, there's no way government can actually carry out some economic policy, or they can carry out some infrastructural development. For instance, taxes are money the government uses to carry out the construction of roads, bridges, or even formulate some fiscal policy, because without taxes, all of these are not going to be possible. So paying of taxes is a way an individual can also contribute to the development of his or her nation.
Okay.
According to Benjamin Franklin, nothing is certain except taxes and debts. So definitely, we all are going to pay tax one way or the other, whether direct taxes or indirect taxes. So again, why do we pay tax? It is actually the position of the law. The Personal Income Tax Act 2011, as amended, has mandated individuals to pay taxes from their income. As a matter of fact, gross emolument of what they earn, whether passive or active income.
So what do you mean by gross,
Okay, so what I mean by gross emolument is that sum total of all your earning.
Okay.
So like I said, passive or active income. Passive incomes are income that you are not directly involved in, but yet you earn them. For instance, interest. For instance, rent. You build a property and you earn rent. So that is a passive income. You are not directly involved in generation of the rent, or you are not directly involved in generation of the interest, because you must have invested your money before you can get interest. So that way, you are earning some income passively. So again, some active income like your salaries, you work for it. Your freelancing income, your consulting income, those are income that you are directly involved in, but yet you earn them. So the sum total of all this income is termed as gross emolument.
Okay.
Whether allowances or what have you, you are directly involved in earning this income. And the law, the Personal Income Tax Act, which actually governs the taxation of individuals, has mandated every individual to pay taxes. So, I mean, those are one of the purpose or the reason why we need to pay taxes.
Okay, so you established something on, the government helping to build roads and the like. But I know Nigerians who complain that they pay taxes, yet they build roads, they pay for their security, they also and meanwhile, the government takes their children to private universities as well, instead of them to work on the university for the citizens. So where exactly are our taxes going to?
That's actually amusing. I mean, to say that where exactly our taxes are going to. To be fair to the Nigerian government, I mean, our tax to GDP ratios is just around 9.6%, which is actually one of the lowest in the world. I mean, that shows the percentages of people that actually pay tax. To be honest, a lot of people do not pay tax in this part of the world.
Okay.
But that being said, even with the paltry number of people that pay tax, I think there should still be some agitation for transparency on how the taxes that are being collected, how it is being spent.
Okay.
So I want to implore the tax-paying masses. They should demand for transparency and efficiency of whatever they pay from their representative. I mean, we have House of Representatives, we have senators that are representing us at the National Assembly. So they might start by asking for accountability,
Okay.
asking for transparency, and even efficient use of whatever they have contributed into the national purse.
Thank you. But we've established what taxes are and, what the government use our taxes to do. But how is this calculated? Because, most people don't know how this is calculated. At the end of the month, they just check their salaries and they see it's not really a round figure. Something is missing. So how is this calculated?
Well, I know that a lot of people do not really know how exactly their taxes. I believe some people believe that they just apply some certain percentage on their salaries or on their other income and you get taxed. No, I beg to differ on that. I mean, so when you look at, this same law, the Personal Income Tax Act, has also given us how these taxes are going to be calculated.
Okay.
Currently, the Personal Income Tax Act that is passed in 2011 as amended has given a graduated rate. So let me also say this: Nigeria are practicing progressive tax system. So what I mean by progressive tax system is that the higher you earn, the higher taxes you pay. So again, the earnings.
So should we be scared of earning high?
I don't think so.
Okay.
So because the difference between whether you earn high or you earn low, it's just a marginal difference.
Okay.
And so, but that being said, the taxes is calculated between the ranges of 7% to 24% as it stands now. So
you mean 7 to 24% of how much I currently earn goes to tax?
Yes, between. So like I said, it's a graduated rate.
Okay.
So the law has given a rate to say that, okay, your first 300,000 should be 7%. The next 300,000 should be 11%. The next 500,000 should be 15%. The next one should be the next 500,000 should be 15%. So it has given a rate to say that, okay, if you fall between this
range
brackets,
okay,
so a certain amount is going to be deducted from your money on a graduated basis. So, but currently in Nigeria, the effective tax rates of whatever amount you can be earning, if you earn above if you earn above 3.2 million, it's going to be around 18%.
Wow.
And so that is the effective tax rate.
But people say that the rich don't pay taxes. So, Annie, I'm hearing 3 points for 18%. Wow.
Well, you cannot even say someone that earns 3 point something million is even rich. I mean, I don't even think the person is even in the middle class as Nigerian economy stand as you speak.
True.
But nevertheless, on the cases of whether the rich do not pay taxes or not, I mean, the rich actually pay tax, only that they have devised a means to legally reduce the tax they
so
pay.
we're getting to that. How can we legally reduce the taxes that we pay?
Yeah, so the rich has actually devised a means to say, okay, how do I mean, because they are rich, they have money to engage tax consultants that will say, okay, how can I reduce my tax? How can I plan my affairs such that I'm not going to pay more than expected?
Okay.
So that is what the rich are opportune to do compared to, I mean,
the masses.
The masses, yeah, like you said. So
Wow.
that's that.
So now, we've established that.
Yeah.
Is there any point, we know people are not just compliant at all. Human beings are not just compliant. So what are the effects or negative effect of not paying your taxes? Are they going to come for you, or how exactly is that going to be solved?
Well, when you said people are not just compliant at all, I mean, I would slightly disagree with you to say that they are not just compliant at all. Well, maybe you want to say that a large number of people are not compliant in our climb. I mean, because if you go to other climb, and that's the reason why we have low tax to GDP ratio. Because, I mean, just less than 10% of tax to GDP ratio, while other countries, I mean, the advanced country are having 40%, as high as 40%. Even here in Africa, somewhere like South Africa are having over 20% tax to GDP ratio. To say that, okay, what is actually the consequence of you not complying with tax?
Yes.
Okay, so for instance, there can be, the consequence ranges from interest and penalty. So there's going to be an interest at the commercial rate, so which is around 30-something% on the amount not paid, and there's going to be a penalty of 10% of the amount that you did not pay. So I mean, tell me, is it not beneficial for you to just comply rather than when you are caught, you now have to pay interest of about 30-something%, now pay a penalty of 10% on the amount that you did not pay. I mean, is that not punitive enough? Again, it could even ranges from you being fined or even some jail term if it is seen that is a deliberate attempt to conceal record when you are even caught and you do not want to even comply again. So because the law has given the tax authorities some power, like for instance, the law gives tax authority to assess an individual based on best of judgment.
Okay.
Best of judgment assessment, where, okay, in my own discretion, because of, I mean, Tolu is the host of Novice show. Okay. So Tolu is rich. I mean, she hosts a show. Period. I just say, okay, Tolu should be earning like 50 million per annum. Mm-hmm. Which I know that might be true.
It's true. Just let's keep that part.
And I'll just slam Tolu with 100 million. And
because I'm getting to that, there was like a celebrity, a Yoruba actress, who came out and Iyabo Ojo came out and was saying that there are a lot of, the government are giving her a high tax to pay. I'm asking, it's supposed to be a certain percent of how much you earn that should be your tax. So why did they give us so much money to pay?
Okay, well, I think I followed the issue when it happened, but I can actually figure out what might have transpired. So what I think might have transpired is because maybe Iyabo Ojo did not comply when she's supposed to comply as an individual at the time. And because her profile is out there, and like I said, as a tax authority, all tax authority, both Federal Inland Revenue Service and State Internal Revenue Service, they have the discretion. That's the power given to them to slam individual company based on judgment assessment, because they have looked at someone in the caliber of Iyabo Ojo to be someone that is high up there. I mean, you feel that she's rich, and so let us slam her with this certain amount of tax. So, but again, the law still actually gives you some level of protection, because as an individual, even when you are slammed with the best of judgment assessment, you still have the right under the law to object
to that.
Yeah, to object to that assessment. So again, if you now want to object, you need to come up with evidence.
Okay.
To say that, okay, I do not hand this amount, or this is the certain amount I hand, and this is the taxes I'm meant to pay.
Okay.
But again, in this case, you now have to pay them with interest and penalty.
Wow.
Because you do not comply when you're supposed to comply.
The extra 10%, right?
Yeah, 10% and 30%, 30-something% as interest. 10% is the penalty.
Wow.
And 31% as the interest. Because it has to be at the commercial rate.
Okay.
Commercial interest rate, as if you want to borrow money in the bank.
Okay.
So it has to be at that rate. So I believe that is what have transpired in Iyabo Ojo case.
Okay.
So, and in this case, Iyabo Ojo needs to object to the assessment. As a matter of fact, within 30 days.
Wow.
To say that, okay, I did not earn this amount of money. Then you need to prove it.
So, in order to avoid all of this drama, you just have to pay your tax, right?
Yes, absolutely. You need to comply and pay the right amount of money. Of course, maybe with the help of a professional to help you mitigate the tax incidents now. I mean the tax amount, tax liability, to ensure that you are paying an optimum amount of taxes.
So I have a lot of questions to ask, but let's go on a quick commercial break and we'll be right back. Welcome back to the Novice Podcast. We're still on the conversation on taxes. So back to my question here. People in the informal sectors, like the market women, the small business owners, and sometimes the freelancers, they do not pay their taxes, from what I've heard though. So how is the government trying to bring them into this tax net, and what's the way forward?
Okay. Well, so for the people in the informal sector, like I said, there are two ways advanced by the Personal Income Tax Act on how individual can be taxed. So there's what we call the pay as you earn and direct assessment. So for pay as you earn, I mean, this is designed for people in employment where their employer has been designated as an agent of the government to deduct the payee from their salaries and remit same to the State Internal Revenue Service. So, but for people in the informal sector, so that is where the direct assessment comes in, because they are the law has given them that prerogative to self-assess themselves. They are supposed to tell the tax authority, okay, I've made a certain amount of money this year. And okay.
Is that relatable? Is that attainable rather?
Yeah, well, it's actually attainable. So because in the time past, we have tax officers going from door to door or going from market to market and
are
start
those people
chasing
under the government, because a lot of young people just pop into all these small business owners, these market women, demanding for a certain amount of money and claiming it's tax. So how can they differentiate the original government agents from the smaller local agents? Okay.
Why I want to agree with you, there are some non-state actors that actually goes to the market to ask for illegal money. So, but again, I also want to say that people in the informal sector, they actually under this direct assessment, they are supposed to do a self-declaration of the income they've earned and pay the relevant taxes. So, but again, people in the market and what have you, the government has actually looked at the system, looking at our climb to say that it's not going to be easy for people in the market to come and file their taxes themselves. Okay. So they have now looked at implementing what we call presumptive tax system. So this presumptive tax system actually just predicts like a paltry amount of income that these people can earn, especially people in the market, the street traders, and all of that. Like, for instance, in Lagos.
Was this calculated with the inflation as well?
Well, yes. For instance, in Lagos, I'm aware that sometimes back, people in the market, they just barely collect 20,000 per annum from them as taxes. And Lagos State has actually established all these small tax office around markets to collect these taxes from these market women. And that way, these market women will now have what we call the tax card, or they can have their tax clearance certificate.
I was coming to that. Is there like a certificate for them to be identified as a taxpayer? Because for a salary earner, at the end of the month, we get emailed that, your LRS has been paid, or whichever state you're from has been paid. So what's identification with the market people and freelancers have?
Okay, fine. For freelancers, if they also complied with the direct assessment part where they declared their income, they are also going to get tax clearance certificate, and they can also get tax card.
On a monthly basis?
No, they'll get it on an annual basis, because for them now, they don't pay on a monthly basis. They pay annually. So because, of course, like their income can be seasonal. So the law has told them that, on or before March 31st of the following year, you're supposed to declare your income, the income you earned in the previous years. So, for instance, all the freelancers and people that work for themselves, self-employed, you are supposed to be planning on how you will comply to this self-assessment or direct assessment on or before 31st of March 2025. For the income you earned in 2024, you should be planning to do that by now. So again, if they complied, they will get tax clearance certificates, and they will also get tax card. Lagos State has a point of view in this case. So for other states as well, they've also advanced to the level of issuing tax clearance certificates.
As well.
Yeah, as well, to individuals that comply.
I just had this little thought though. People that, work dollar jobs as well, do they pay their taxes? That work dollar jobs, their companies are not in Nigeria. Although they live in Nigeria, are they expected to pay taxes as well?
Yes. Looking at the current law, personal income tax act that is operational, the law actually specifies that once you earn income from Nigeria as an individual, irrespective of whether you earn that income from abroad or whether you earn it from Nigeria, that income is expected to be subjected to tax. So, but looking at what will be obtainable in the nearest future if the tax reform bill is being passed, that might be addressed, because it is seen as an obstacle from foreign companies in employing Nigerians, because they feel that when you employ a Nigerian, you are going to be paying tax over there, and also going to be paying tax in Nigeria because the person resides in Nigeria. So, the tax reform bill is trying to address that. So, but again, there's something we call the double taxation treaty. So there are some double taxation treaties with other countries. I think currently we have a double taxation treaty with 14 countries now, where if you earn income in Nigeria and the income has also been taxed in another country, you can get a relief for the tax that have been paid in that other country. Like, for instance, we have a double taxation treaty with the UK. So if, for instance, you reside in Nigeria and you earn income from UK, the income is taxed in the UK, and it is also meant to be taxed in Nigeria. So the double taxation treaty has provided a relief to say that, the tax you pay in the UK, you can get it as a relief in Nigeria, just to reduce the tax you're going to pay in Nigeria. So, but I believe if the tax reform bill is passed and became a law, then that can be addressed. Yeah, so that's it.
So, we always have people that checks and balance all of this. Who exactly is going to be checking the government for all this benefits in quotes that we're supposed to be expecting from our taxes?
Okay. Earlier, I've spoken about accountability, transparency, and efficient use of these taxes that we all pay. I know that if you reside in Lagos, you'll probably be getting a lot of your money being deducted every month to say that. And some people will be like, wow, I'm paying this amount of money. Just recently, the employees of the federal government raised an alarm to say that we pay so much and the federal government should do something about it. So I believe because of this money is so biting to a lot of people, considering the current economic condition. So what I think the masses can do is that they should demand for more accountability. They should demand for transparency on how this money is being being utilized. So again, we have our representative, the National Assembly is there, which is actually the reason why they are there. They are supposed to serve as a check and balances to the executive.
Okay.
Yes, because for instance, the budget is about to be passed. So the expenses, the capital expenses and the recurrent expenditure are currently being scrutinized. So through that means the taxes that is about to be paid is going to be efficiently used. So, but the point now again, are they efficiently or effectively scrutinizing those expenses? So, I mean, that is where the civil society also comes in. They need to demand accountability for this money.
Okay.
Yes, they need to ensure an efficient use.
How do we demand? Are we writing something? Are we protesting, or how exactly are we supposed to demand?
Well, I wouldn't advocate for protests on how to demand for accountability. But like I said, we have our representative. Those are the people we need to hold responsible. Because like in the Senate now, we have 109 people there representing everyone in the country. So just imagine that every constituency are holding their senator accountable. I mean, so that means you are holding Nigeria accountable. We have 360 House of Rep member. So imagine if I'm holding my House of Rep member accountable, then that means I'm holding Nigeria accountable. So again, because every now and then these people, they actually reside among us, they reside with us, so we can literally ask questions on how our money is being spent. Again, efficiently. Are they contract inflation? So we need to ask questions, the right question from the right people on how this money is being spent.
Ooh, what an insightful session. But before we wrap up, we have a game called the Novice Dip. And before the Novice Dip, I have one more question for you, which is, tax law are, evolving, and then we have things like e-taxing and all of the likes. So, what should Nigeria expect in the next year? Is the tax going to keep increasing, or what should we expect in the next year?
Okay, I think when you look at the outlook of the tax space, first thing first, there's going to be an eruption or a disruption in the tax landscape. For instance, there's going to be the passage of the tax reform bill, so which comprises.
When is that coming up, please?
Okay, so currently there is public hearing on tax reform bill. Between the next 2 days, we are going to be experiencing public hearing at the Senate, and from Wednesday to Friday of the last week of February, there's going to be a public hearing at the House of Representatives. So they are scrutinizing 4 bills in general: the Nigerian tax bill, the Nigerian administration bill, the joint revenue bill, and they will also be scrutinizing the Nigerian Revenue Service Establishment Bill.
Okay.
So, I mean, these laws actually promises to revolutionize the Nigerian tax landscape. For instance, one of the expectation from this law is to actually lessen the tax burden on individuals, especially the middle class and the poor. So, for instance, if you earn less than 1.7 million per month, you are likely to be paying less taxes compared to the current system that we run. So again, if you now earn above 1.7 million, above 1.7 million per month, then it's likely that you experience a marginal increase in what you pay. So but when you ask yourself...
What of people that earn below minimum wage?
Okay, fine. The tax reform bill that I mentioned is actually going to exempt people that earn minimum wage.
Okay.
So they earn 800,000 and below per annum, so which is still within the bracket of minimum wage. 70,000 is if you multiply that. I mean, if you earn 800 to 850, you are going to be exempted outrightly. So, which is one of the things the tax reform bill is trying to address, because the current tax system that we have, if you earn 30,000 or less per month, that is only when you can be exempted from tax. So if people that earn current minimum wage of 70,000 as it stand now, they still have to pay some tax until the tax reform bill is being passed. That is when they can now be totally exempted. So those are the future outlook. Then again, there will be a lot of improvement in terms of digitalization of the tax system in Nigeria, because the tax reform bill is not actually looking at how to burden more people. It's only looking at how to expand the tax net. And the only way to expand the tax net is to bring in technology, to bring in more people into the tax net so that they can pay less and government can now earn more revenue in this instance. So I think those are some of the future outlook that we should be expecting in the Nigerian tax landscape.
A quick one, please.
Okay, go on.
So, what would you say about allowances? Are allowances being taxed? Because I know certain organizations, rather, that, they try to split salaries and also do not, whenever they're paying allowances, do not address it as salaries or something, just to, I don't know, evade tax. Will I call that evading tax? Or would you say they are not supposed to just pay tax for allowances?
Well, I don't think that is right. Because like I said, taxes are meant to be paid on your gross emolument. So allowances are actually part of your emolument. So, but there are some tax planning around that. Maybe if it is a reimbursable expenses, maybe something that you have spent and the company is now reimbursing it to you, and you can prove on what you actually spend those money on. For instance, that might be exempted from personal income because it is a reimbursable expenses. So, but on the cases of splitting your salary and trying to tax one and not taxing one, I mean, I want to say categorically that might be tax evasion in the real sense. So, and that is not encouraged. It's not going to be encouraged.
Thank you so much. So, I'm just going to ask a few questions. Let me shake it very well. So you just pick one, then I'll read it out for you. Oopsie. So, what is the biggest tax misconception you've ever come across?
Okay, so I get people to say that in Nigeria, it is in Nigeria, it's actually more beneficial not to pay tax than to pay tax, because you get to sort your way out of the Nigerian tax system. So I want to say categorically that is one of the greatest misconceptions out there. Because at the end of the day, you find out that you might end up paying more than what you're supposed to pay.
Like you've established earlier.
Yeah, that you ought to have established earlier, you get. So, and that way, you are putting yourself out there and you are creating an unethical, an unethical perception about your company or about yourself. Because at the end of the day, you might find yourself having to start begging people that you're not supposed to beg and start trying to exactly trying to monetize the system. So and when you come to look at it, it's actually very unfair to people that actually comply with the tax, because you find out that it's actually created an uneven economic environment where people that comply and people that do not comply, when they get to do the same thing, the one that do not comply now has more advantage. But I can assure you, when they are caught, they actually get to pay way more than what they ought to have paid initially. So that is one of the greatest misconceptions in the Nigerian tax system.
Thank you so much, Akinlere. So before you go, one advice for our listeners.
If I'm to advise our listener, I will just tell you that try to comply. Try to do that at the right time. I mean, if you're finding it difficult on how to go about it, then you might need to reach out to a professional on how to go about it and possibly help you to avoid taxes. Then again, you need to be aware of tax regulations that is going on. Go for trainings on how taxes are going to affect you and your businesses. So I think that is what I can tell listener at this point.
So we've come to the end of today's episode. I remain your host, Tolu. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share to everyone around you. Till another episode. Bye, guys.